Hi Poopsies. So today I wanted to talk about my favorite TV shows. In case you need to get through this quarantine easier and watch something. Most of these are available on YouTube and Netflix for subscription or purchase, so pretty easy to access. So I have, I think, 15 different series that I wanted to bring up. One of them is actually also on Showtime as well, so you should pretty much be able to see all of these on either 3 platforms or your TV, of course, or whatever service you use. I assume Apple TV, I don't know all the apps, but I'm just guessing. But just type it in and you'll find it eventually on any of those. So, I just kind of go into a brief description of each show. I never did a video strictly based on this. I did briefly mention a few of these before, but I kind of want to make a video just dedicated to series that I like watching because I feel like, hey, if I can get something out of these, hopefully you can as well. You know, there's a lot of important life lessons you can learn from each and every show. So, also for your entertainment, laughter, joy, whatever you get through this time. So, yeah. So the first one is Roswell, New Mexico, and that is one I'm currently watching season 2 of. It's kind of like a sci-fi, fantasy, mystery sort of series, and it's based on a book. And as many of you know, Roswell is the base of where the alien investigation and crash was. I'm not going to go too much into conspiracies today, but basically you'll like it for yourself. 3 of the characters, to summarize it for you, have special superpower abilities. One can move things, one can do mind control, another can use electricity to their advantage. So, very cool. And it's about this girl who just comes back into her hometown after many years. And her sister passed away in that place. And the whole town was devastated, and some people were blaming her, the other people were mourning her loss, including her family, and it just links together with alien discovery, and it's just an amazing show. The producers, the editors, the way they compile it together, is just phenomenal. It is one of the hands down best series I would recommend, which is why I put it first and foremost at the top. Right now there's only 5 episodes out of season 2, but I am watching it, and I actually just finished it so far yesterday, and I can't wait for more. And it has a bit of romance, like any other show does, but also just the right amount of entertainment and suspense to keep you on the edge of your seat for more. So I would highly recommend that show. Alright, and I'll name them all in the description box below as well, so you can catch up on that. The next one is The Society, and this one, I believe, only has 1 season so far. Yeah, and I'm patiently awaiting season 2. It is a group of people who have sort of shifted in time, I guess, and were left behind from their family when some school buses left and came back. That's all I can say without spoiling too much, but basically they have to learn, all of them, to survive on their own. And it's just very amazing, like what the characters end up doing and how they end up going crazy and like paranoid and start blaming each other. And one of the sisters ends up passing away, who was one of the protagonist's main characters, and it's like, oh my gosh, you can't believe half the things you're seeing. And it kind of makes you realize what people would actually end up doing in an emergency situation or something that they don't know what's happening, but basically they are entrapped in this sort of orb and they can't get out. So imagine like The Simpsons, how they have this thing placed over their city and no one can leave, so there's like a portal way where they cannot leave no matter how hard they try, and they would always just end up back in the town they're in. So they have to learn to set up their own society, which is why it's called The Society, their own system of functioning in life, and they have to unify and have a government and just a plan for everything so there's not mass chaos and devastation, basically. But there's only so much in one season, and then it's like they hit you with the suspense, and then you're patiently waiting for the next set of episodes, so highly recommend it. The next one is called The Rain, and basically what happens is it's a foreign series, I believe Norwegian, if I'm not mistaken, or I forgot, I can't even say Dutch, I really don't remember, but there is a storm system that comes upon, and just every time it rains, people become infected with something and they end up passing away. So it's like this new planetary system of just killing off their own kind, if that makes sense. And every time you go outside while it rains, it gets into your system and you don't make it. So the whole point of the series is to avoid whenever it's about to rain. And these kids start off in this futuristic looking pod, and their parents had like this underground base, and he said I'll be back, and they kept him in there, and they thought, like, because his father told them not to leave, so they literally did not leave for several years, and then they discovered they could leave, and there were others out there who also were hiding, I guess, in these underground bases, and it's just about survival, and it's just like kind of like The Walking Dead, but with rain. But yeah, I believe there are 2 seasons. Patiently waiting for the 3rd, of course. And it just has a certain glum, dark outlook overall, like a certain filter over the whole show. It's like just post-apocalyptic world, and intriguing with emotions and sensitive characters, and a brother and sister that fight for their life and fight for each other, and they discover other beings, and you know what happens in Walking Dead when they discover other beings roaming around trying to survive. Yeah, it does not turn out good. So yeah, tons of action with that. I know you would enjoy that, and I just love the main characters. Like, they're meant for this roles and parts, and it suits perfectly well when they pick people who play the part well, and you know what I'm talking about. So the next series is called Shameless, and this I've been watching since 10 years ago now. It is like trashy comedy. It's kind of like grimy and gross, but at the same time it kind of makes you realize some people's upbringing, and it's based in Chicago, where I'm born from, and I kind of get it. Like, there were some people having that kind of lifestyle, and it kind of like clicked with me at first, but the humor kind of pulled me in immediately, and the initial characters of Mickey and I forgot the other kid's name, but anyway, or the redhead. But yeah, I just love the characters. They're so trashy and funny, and it's just like dark humor mixed in with just gruesome kind of comedy, just like a weird kind of humor. It's not for everyone, but it's entertaining enough to be like, it's almost like an odd satisfaction to watch that show sometimes, because I've been through now, I think, 10 seasons, and yeah, honestly, the best were probably the first 3 or 4, and then it slowly started to get like boring in some parts. So again, you kind of have to be patient with season, I would say 5 through 8 perhaps, but yeah, you can only do so much, especially with revolving actors. So but there's always something going on, and that's the crazy part about it. It's just this family that basically grows up in poverty, and they have to kind of make the best of their resources, and it's just hilarious and nasty. It is the show to watch if you are nothing else to watch. I don't know. Like, it kind of is one of those shows that you sometimes check on and watch, and sometimes you're like, why am I watching stuff? Like, a perfect show for that. So anyway, another is called Locked Up, and it is based on these female-only group of girls who are in a female-only prison, and they're in like this high-security jail that they are in for, I believe, I don't know if it's a Brazilian series or like Spanish Brazilian, I don't remember, but I think Brazil or Portugal. I don't remember where it's based from, but the languages sound similar to there. And so they have 4 seasons of this, and they are quite lengthy episodes. I mean, this took me like probably 2 months to finish, and I was like watching a bit every day. But there is a ton of action, ton of suspense, ton of drama, ton of romance, ton of comedy, ton of just everything mixed into one messed up series that has countless characters involved, and they constantly mix and battle with each other, and it usually digresses to foreshadowing back and forth and connecting the pieces into a twisted storyline, a twisted plot. Yeah, basically a twisted plot line and twisted characters, a lot of controversial instances, and antagonistic characters that constantly are on top of each other, and there's like little groups of girls in there, and they have to survive basically, like in any prison system. And the girl that is wrongfully imprisoned in there, the main character, is sort of one of the better girls, although none of them are really good people, truly. There's a lot of greed and a lot of guilt and just psychotic activity, and it's just one of those really messed up dark shows, but it has just the right amount of everything that would make up an incredibly good series, so I highly recommend it. Another is In the Dark, although I don't really like that show, because with my ex I was watching it again for the second time. I was like, yeah, I didn't actually like the show, but at the time last summer when I watched it, I guess I was sort of in that place where I liked stuff like this. But basically it's based in Chicago, and there's this girl who is blind, and she has a best friend who passes away, and she thinks he actually didn't because he disappeared when she went to check back on him before the police report. So it has a lot that I don't even remember. I think it has like 2 seasons worth of series, and just so much goes on and changes, and her interactions with this guy who is like, she's pushing away but wanting at the same time, and she's like an alcoholic, and she's very dark and like has like horrible humor. I mean, like so bad, like she insults people all the time. She's like this huge mess, and she's uber depressed, and just constantly, even her family, like messing up and sabotaging and stuff. So but she's twisted enough to be entertaining, so it's a good show for that if you want to watch a hot mess train wreck, basically. But not one of my favorites anymore. It kind of drew me in at first, but would I rewatch it? No. Another one is called Good Girls, and at first I wasn't about to watch it because I saw the trailers, and it was based on these sort of typical white picket fence motherly family with children, and I was like, not the kind of life I like. But it was actually funny and just twisted and dark, which I love on a Netflix show, and like I am excited for another 3rd season. I believe it has 1 season or 2 seasons, I'm not sure, but yeah. The main character is mysterious, and you can never tell what she's truly thinking. The redhead woman, I forgot her name, the actress's name, but yeah, just a group of 3 girls committing crime for their survival, to feed their kids, have a roof over their head, and one of them has a messed up husband who cheats on her and has this car dealership, and it's just funny. Like, one of the characters constantly cries and feels guilty and sorry for herself, and she has such a big heart at the same time, and the other just is a rebellious 20-something-year-old who just doesn't care and could do this forever. And it's just interesting to see the different age groups and how different people would react in certain instances, and you see some of yourself in these people. So yeah, definitely funny comedy, good watch, and witty. That's all. It's just I'm gonna be honest though, after like the last few episodes started to slowly get more boring, but yeah, it is interactive and a suspenseful unit. So the next one is called Unbelievable, and this one is very slow. It's more like a sort of true crime series. I love crime, but well, not that kind of crime. I meant like the shows, right? But it's kind of soft-spoken and relaxed, you know. It's one of those easygoing shows, kind of like easy on the eyes. It's not too heavy or packed with action, or, you know, especially the first few shows. It kind of like just begins to get the storyline developing, and then it goes in for the punch. And I feel like there were probably a few actors in there that could have done a better job or replaced with someone better for this specific show, because I mean, there were times I almost felt myself drifting off, and I was like, okay, what's gonna happen next, you know? Like, kind of slow, boring approach. But a lot of times you have to be patient and wait, because those are the shows that really get in on the details, and if you don't pay attention from the beginning, you're not going to understand the rest, or like the end won't really make much sense, and you'll begin to question things and even your own motives and your own reality. So it's one of those shows. I highly recommend it, though. It's not like horrific like some of these other ones I just recommended. But it's not horror, but at the same time, compared to other crime, it's soft, it's weak, compared to other series. Less action, I would say. The next one is The Sniffer, and this is a Russian series, I believe. And there's like 3 seasons of it. Very lengthy shows. And full of just the right mix, which I look for in boring and action. Like, it's a fine balance, and it's fine-tuned, and it's neatly packed consistently in each show that continues almost pushing you like a bag of potato chips to want more, like just the right amount of salt and sweet to entice you into continue viewing. And that's why I probably finished this the fastest of any other series, because it was so interesting, you know. Sometimes I'd even stay up and watch it. This guy has super special ability to smell anything. Like, he will smell a bowl of food and he'll say, okay, this has 5% mango, 5% salt, 6% vinegar, 7% olive oil. Like, he will know everything. And he uses this, again, it's kind of like a crime series, to catch suspects who may have committed crimes. So that's all you need to know. That in itself is fascinating enough, and you get to see the life he leads with that. And when people find out that he is the one who's able to have this, of course he has enemies on his side as well, so you can only imagine what can unfold. If you're willing to read captions the whole time, that is. Another is called Silver Spoon, and this is another kind of Russian-based. I don't want to say Russian for sure, because Ukrainian is similar, but I'm only assuming. But Russian-based series, where this spoiled, entitled rich kid suddenly has to be thrown into the workforce, and again, sort of crime-related, criminal justice type of series. And he matures and realizes that this is his true passion, rather than going at clubs, driving fast cars. Like, he has no interest for that lifestyle anymore. And the connection he has with his father, and after he ends up passing away the man who he really ends up becoming. So I think this is 2 seasons of just honestly one of the most enticing series with a set of young actors who just really bring in the right amount of flavor to a show that you are looking for, and that's all I need to say, really. Just watching the transformation of how someone can become irresponsible and mature to someone who really is full of character integrity and becomes the man he is. So, another is Quicksand. This is a series, kind of one of those one and done sort of series that is just 6 episodes and is based upon this murder in Sweden where this girl is caught up in a situation that is not her fault and is planted on her as sort of as if it was, and people are confused as to whether she is innocent or guilty. So just having to witness the trials and her court days and the drama between unfolding of her reality, her life, family, friends, school, everything. And this is based on a true story, so very captivating indeed. What If is another series, and that is, again, Russian-based, about a robotic future world with artificial intelligence, and they create them to do certain jobs and tasks fulfilled for people. But one specifically is meant to take care of family, and this one sort of mother AI unit is persistently deemed responsible to take care and protect her own kind that she watches for, so she is programmed to, no matter what, watch out for this one family. And oh my gosh, I'm sorry. That's the series Better Than Us, not What If. Sorry, I'll get to that next. But yeah, basically you get the point. And one of the actors, the main characters, it might confuse you, is in 2 series. So he's in Better Than Us and The Sniffer, so not to confuse you there. But yeah, it took me a while to process that he was in both shows, and I was like, wait a minute, that guy looks familiar. Alright, so What If is based on this wealthy woman, businesswoman, who manipulates people into her schemes and tactics. And she draws in this couple she meets one day into her ways, and yeah, it is very messy, the situation she gets in, but she is kind of this empowered, dominant sort of personality that is not afraid of anything, so it's quite interesting to watch what she can do and how quickly she can destroy people's lives, including her own, through her actions and her messed up childhood. So another is called Maniac, and this one is, again, one of those one and done series, and I didn't really understand it because it has sort of a poetic meaning behind it. It's one of those series you really have to lean in close and pay attention, because the meaning and the lessons that involve it are not direct. They're not right in your face. You know, you kind of have to compose your own conclusions on what happened, and it sort of ends off with one of those, you could make up your own story of it afterwards. Like, there's no real true ending to it. So, but basically they're all involved in this experiment where they have to wait for 3 rounds of testing, and people become panic-stricken because they don't know what's going on. They don't know why they're having these visualizations or dreams when they're put under the machines, and it's like a futuristic Japanese weird messed up world that they're put in, and it makes no sense whatsoever, but you'll see with your own 2 eyes. It is art. that is all I have to say. It is what you make of it. So if you want one of those shows, there you go. And the last one, of course, is Claws. So it is about these girls who run a nail salon in Florida, and they are involved in a lot of under-the-table kind of activity, and it's just hilarious. Of one of those modern kind of shows with a lot of pops of color and fabulousness and the most shady activity you can think of that could go on in a sort of underdeveloped community. And it is one of those that you sit and are like, oh yes, queens, just get them. Like, if you're in one of those moods to just be feeling sort of sassy diva, kind of like them, you know, it's just one of those silly fun shows that are also very emotional, serious at times, and you see the connection built between all of the developing characters and family members, and how they sort of interlace with each other and foreshadow into other storylines that connects very well. It's like one big story that unfolds slowly, but at the same time is out there and creative and unusual. That's the best way I can describe without spoiling it too much. But I did forget to mention one of the series Locked Up is also a limited series. It only has 4 seasons. It's not one of those continuums. But I believe that is it. The other series I mentioned were also limited. Besides the one I just spoke about and the ones I mentioned in the very beginning, the rest have a limited amount, and obviously we cannot predict whether they're going to create more, because there are some rumors going around that some of them will stop producing more content due to budgeting or other circumstances, especially now. Obviously everything's going to be in the delayed process for filming because of what's going on, so hope that entices you into watching. Thank you. Subscribe, tap the notification bell, like, comment, share our playlist, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, poopsies.